So today I am here with Megan Gallagher, who is a two times TEDx speaker, Amazon bestseller, TV host, and mental health advocate. So many things, and I'm so honored to sit down and talk to you today. So do you want to just let everybody know a little bit more about who you are?
Yes. So, first of all, hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here today. Angelica, thank you for having me on your podcast. My name is Megan Gallagher. I am a two-time TEDx speaker, four-time Amazon bestseller, TV host, blogger, and truly my biggest, passion in life is anything mental health. And for me, it really comes from when I was a teenager, I struggled so badly with horrific, chronic anxiety. And I never knew where it came from and what the source was. And I mean, I didn't even know what anxiety was. So for me, I felt like I was just having, I don't know, something, a cold, the flu all the time. But truly, though, I really just had a moment when I was 16 where I kind of hit rock bottom, and that journey really inspired me to do what I'm doing today.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Sorry you had to go through
Yeah.
it. But it's funny sometimes how we can like learn and become the person I guess we were meant to be through some of those horrible times.
No, I seriously, Angelica, I really do believe that everything in life is not only connected, but I do believe that it happens for a reason. And no matter how daunting or scary something may seem, I do feel that, everything is just really like teaching you things that are going to help you. Like, I just feel like life is such a like huge, just filled with so many connected moments. I really believe that.
I absolutely agree. And especially when you go through those hard times, it kind of gives you that space to build those perspectives around like, okay, maybe everything does happen for a reason. I did have to go through that to get to where I
Yeah.
am today. And sometimes
Yes.
that's harder to kind of acknowledge and accept, but depending on where you're at in your journey, that mantra has really, really helped me.
Yeah, no, completely. And I mean, I've been like one of my books is called Everything is Happening for Me, Not to Me. It's a quote that my parents, told me growing up. They would always say, Megan, this experience that you're having at such a young age is it's really just, it's serving a bigger purpose than you could even imagine right now. And they would tell me that at 16 when I was, feeling so frustrated and mad at myself and mad at my mind and my brain. I'm like, you're letting me down and I don't want to do this. I want to be a normal teenager. I just want to get my driver's license and, you know, go to football games and the prom dances. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm living a double life and feel this guilt and this shame that I really did feel. And I know anyone who has struggled or is struggling with a mental health disorder, whether it be anxiety, depression, bipolar, OCD, I feel like it comes with so much shame and embarrassment and like you just feel like you have to keep it kind of private, and that's what I did, but then it wasn't working anymore. I was like, wait, I don't want to feel like a shell of a human, getting D minuses in all my classes in high school. I was in a very toxic relationship. Everything was just kind of hanging on by a thread because I myself was literally hanging on by a thread. I was not doing well myself. So I couldn't really give to other people and I couldn't be there for, it really is crazy though, because when you are not doing well yourself, you will notice it just ripples into every area of your life, like your health and your finance, your career, your love life, everything comes from, you are the one that is starting it. You're the center of it. So it just umbrellas into everything.
I could not agree more. Everything is so connected, and your mental health is at the center of everything. And you don't have to be struggling with a mental illness per se. It can just be a few things that are really making you feel unwell, not your best
Yeah.
self, and that can really, really impact you.
Exactly. And one thing I will say is, for me, this is a great teaching moment for me. Being like Miss Mental Health, like, I walk it, I've lived it. So I feel like I'm 27 in a few days, but I started my journey at 16. So it's been over 10 years. And, I'm like living my life. This is maybe a few months ago in Miami. I've never been happier. And then picking up, moving to Austin, Texas, where I am now. It's like, I seriously was so humbled by the moving process because I didn't anticipate that I would literally be so triggered and really have to like relearn my routines and just figure out all these things. Like, living on a blow up mattress for 2 weeks with no furniture, it's not fun for anyone. And also at the time, I was going through, a breakup, and it was really, really, really mentally very difficult, like challenging. And I felt like I was so pushed to my limit and I felt so uncomfortable. And I truly, in those moments when I was just on the blow up mattress, crying because I'm like, okay, well, I'm grieving, my time in Miami, that's over. Moving to a new city comes with a lot of emotions. This breakup and just other things. Like I love my routine. So I felt very thrown out of my element. And I'm like, where's my favorite, coffee mug? Oh, not here. It's in a box, like all these things. And it was so frustrating. And I really had to learn to be kind to myself and to have grace for myself, which is, to be honest, something I still work on today is just like loving myself. But yeah, that was a moment moving to Austin where I was the student again. I was really relearning, wow, okay, this situation is so out of my comfort zone. I feel so alone and so just frustrated. How can I make it easier on myself? Because being hard on myself and speaking like, Megan, come on, that's not going to make the situation any easier, which is a fact. So I have to like, kind of practice what I preach and really speak kindly to myself because that's the only way that I'm going to make it out of this situation and it's going to, flow better. So,
No, I love that. And I think so many of us working in this space deal with that because we're always
yeah,
preaching these things, but then when it comes to our own
always.
mental health, you kind of just forget everything that
I know. It
you're
goes out the
telling other
window.
people to do. Yeah. And most of our stories or why we got into this space is kind of things that happened to us in the past. So we feel
Totally.
like we're at this place in our lives where nothing's going to affect us. But like you just
Yeah,
shared, like mental health requires maintenance. It's a journey. As different life things happen, different things are going to come up for us. So that's a really
exactly.
great point. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I always will feel grateful for my upbringing because I do think that it gave me this, like tool belt, like a handyman, they have that tool belt. I mean, I have that wherever I go. That never leaves me, but in situations like where, moving to a brand new state and just all of the emotions, I haven't done that in a while. So it's kind of like, let's say a mom is pregnant, gives birth, and then she's like, oh, that was so hard. And then 3 years later, you kind of forget and you're like, I want another kid. That was so fun. Like, so for me, moving, it was like, oh my gosh, what am I feeling? So for me, this tool belt is with me wherever I go. So that's why, example, I journal. Like I got this at Target literally the first day that I moved here, and it's already all filled out and it's been like a month. And so for me, I know that when these emotions come up, I know exactly, what to do. I put them on paper, I say them out loud, I practice EFT tapping, I go and exercise, I do deep diaphragmatic breathing. Like I feel grateful because my childhood really showed me, Megan, these emotions are going to you're a human being. Okay, you're only 26. Like these will come and go throughout your whole entire life. So, regardless, you're going to go through seasons where things are going to be difficult and really push you, and you're going to be like, I can't do this. But the more that you go to these healthy, outlets, you realize there is such a beauty when you just kind of like not surrender, but, you kind of like practice neutral thinking, which really did help me through my moving situation. It's kind of like observing your thoughts and instead of reacting and engaging with your thoughts, if your thoughts are like, oh, I suck. I look so, chubby. I look disgusting. Today is awful. I hate my life. I am drinking out of red soda. I just, okay. So it's like those thoughts. are, to engage with them is like just practicing mindfulness. All of these outlets, like I said, I feel so grateful because I've had them with me for years, and I feel like unstoppable almost because no matter what situation I'm in life, this is what gets me through is going back to the basics, like positive choices, focusing on solutions, not excuses, which is something I learned from an old TV studio I used to work at called AfterBuzz TV with Maria Menounos. And she would always say, and they had a poster, create solutions, not excuses. And that's just something that stuck with me forever. It's like anytime I feel such in a pickle and I'm like, okay, I feel so like out of control and I'm just gonna like fail. I'm like, Megan, pause, reel it in, homegirl, reel it all in, pull in the slack, focus on solutions. So what's a solution? Okay, I could go exercise instead, because typically when we have anxiety, so most of the time we want to like curl up and just scroll and just kind of numb out for like hours, right? That's our initial response for some people, not everyone, but it's really because, anxiety, it just is debilitating sometimes. Like you don't even want to leave your bed because you're like, what if I die? What if I trip? What if I fall? What if I, all these awful things. So I feel like I just feel very grateful because back to everything happens for a reason. I think my childhood, it truly just etched in every cell of my being. You've got this, Megan, and you already know the answer and you know what to do. So
You just shared so many amazing things. But I think that's great that you have that framework. Like, no matter what you're going through, you know what works
hmm
for you, and you can always go back to that. So, kind of like
yeah,
diving a little bit more into your story. So, you mentioned like you hit rock bottom, but now you're here. So,
yes,
how did
yes.
you make that switch? How did you actually get started working in this space?
Yeah. So man, I mean, so I started high school, it feels like 500 lifetimes ago, not even on this planet, but I started high school in 2010, graduated 2014. I grew up in San Francisco Bay Area in Northern California, and I remember vividly, I had a very positive childhood, nothing too traumatic. And then I remember, as a kid, I always worried a lot. Just that was me by nature. If it was a sleepover, a field trip for my class to go to like, the Jelly Belly factory, I don't know. I just always worried. That was just me. I was always in every home movie when my mom pans the camera to me, she's like, Megan, smile. And I'm like, just like crying. Like I'm just always, I was always just emotional and wanted to be with my mom and no one else as a kid. So I was very shy, very sensitive, which is not me now. I grew out of that, but um, so that was me as a kid. And then I, reached basically after eighth grade was over, where I grew up, the school system, it was, kindergarten to fifth grade, and then you graduate, sixth grade to eighth grade, and then you graduate. So the transition from eighth grade to freshman year of high school was brutal. That was when my anxiety reared its head up. It just went from 0 to like 500. And I know this now because when I started therapy as a sophomore, we went back a little bit and realized that change is a big trigger for my anxiety. It's not really a fear of change, it's more so just any type of change, and I'm not in control. I don't know the outcome. That's why I kind of feel like I have a mini fear of flying. And for anyone who does, if you bring it down to the root, it's actually a fear of losing control, a fear of not being in control because there's a pilot flying the plane and you're the passenger, right? Like you have to sit in the chair and like allow someone else to fly the plane. So a lot of it, if you think about it, bring it down, common denominator, it's about control and not being in control. So for me, that was a big like light bulb moment. But yeah, that summer, eighth grade to freshman year was horrible. Like every day I was like, how many more days until high school starts? Like just so worried. And it is a big change in general. Like you're having a locker for the first time, new friends, a whole new school. Half my friends from middle school went to another high school. I mean, it's like, it's a lot. It's a lot. And so I was like crying every day, just like really, I was like, oh geez. And then I remember freshman year started, and I talk about it in my first TEDx talk, but my first panic attack ever as like a teenager, where I'm sure I had many as a kid, but as a teenager where I was old enough to like feel it and to have the awareness. Um, it was, freshman year of high school, and it was horrible. Like if anyone has ever had a panic attack listening or watching, that feeling. It's literally there. It's terrible. You feel like you are wanting to jump out of your skin. You feel so uncomfortable, so ill, so gross. And I truly felt like I was having a heart attack. I mean, or a stroke. I was like, this is the end. Here I am, 14, just a young lady in her English class. And I was like, I'm just gonna die. Like I'm literally gonna collapse in this desk and just blow up. Like I'm gonna die. And so I would ask my teacher, my heart's like like racing, and I'm like sweating, and the room is kind of spinning, and my throat's closing up, and I'm like, can I go to the bathroom? And I would grab the hall pass and literally rush off to the bathroom. And that was like my routine. That was the thing that I did, is I every day, like clockwork, these panic attacks, I called them episodes because I didn't know what they were, but these panic attacks would pop up. I would grab the hall pass from my English class and run off to the bathroom. I would sit in the bathroom stall. I vividly still at 27, basically, I vividly still remember that bathroom. I remember the smell, the cold white square tiles on the ground, and like the lights that flickered and they were not really working well, and like just the writing on the inside of the stall and all that stuff. And I was like, just sit there. And I would just like wait for it to pass, and I'd be like, okay, I mean, maybe 2 minutes. Okay, I feel better now. And then it wasn't until, a year and a half, basically my sophomore year of high school, where it was these just panic attacks started affecting my grades, eating habits, everything. And it was like getting to a point where I didn't really see a future for myself. And that was a really scary moment when, at 16, I should be excited for college, for all these amazing things. And, who am I going to be as an adult when I grow up? Am I going to have kids and a house and all these things? And so I never saw that for myself. And that was really scary. I didn't think I would ever move out of my parents' house. I didn't think I would, like literally be a functioning, healthy adult that made money. Like I had no goal. I mean, I did have goals, but I was just like, I don't see myself ever, like, it sounds so weird, but like living past 16. I don't know how to explain it, but I think when you are at rock bottom with an addiction or mental health issues, sometimes you don't even see like tomorrow. Like I was in such survival mode. I was like, if I can make it 5 more minutes, I'm good. Like I'm fine. Like I don't need to make it another, 5 minutes is fine. Like I was literally just like, get through the next hour. That was my mindset. I felt like I was, in war. Like to me, it was just get through the day, get home, just do the kind of all that. And so it took me, it was a big moment when I kind of asked my parents for help. I feel like, I reached rock bottom. And I remember that night vividly also. I waited until my sister left the room and my parents were doing dishes after dinner. And I was like, Mom and Dad? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, can I ask you guys a question? I lied and said something weird. And they're like, sure, Megan. And I sat down and my hands are like this. And they're like, what's going on? And I was like, and I just start like the tears just start. I'm like, and they really held the space for me. It was awesome. And they really just heard everything I said for like an hour. And it really changed my life though, to have parents that, number one, I mean, I knew that they had always loved me, but they really showed that in that moment. They never once judged me or laughed or anything. They both like held my hand and they were like, Megan, it's okay. And so basically the next week, first therapy session, therapy changed my entire life. I still have a therapist to this day. I love therapy. And then, that at 16, I started me on this journey of like searching inward and kind of wondering, for me in my school, my high school, I always felt like they didn't really have a lot of conversations about mental health and wellness and what it means to not be okay. And so for me, that lack of conversation made me feel very alone. I felt so awkward and so dorky and guilty. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm sitting in this, assembly with 600 of my other, classmates in the sophomore class. And I'm sitting there watching this, like, 70-year-old man talk about, here's how to prepare for your SAT. And I'm like, oh gosh. And it's like an hour and you're like, what? And so I was like, you know what? In this moment, I remember just feeling like looking around, being like, okay, so no one else struggles. I'm the only one who feels this way, which is anxious, worried, overthinking everything up, down, sideways, backways. So I was like, you know what? This moment sucks. And I feel like the only person out of 600 people who is this way, but I want to do something about it. So for me, I think it's just those moments really inspired me. And then I graduated high school 2014. I moved down to LA. I didn't go to college. I maybe did a few months of community college, but I was like, it's not for me. I just know my passion is to be a speaker and to inspire people and to use my story. So yeah, that was so long ago, but it's been 8.5 years, and then now we're here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
You honestly gave me goosebumps when you were talking
Oh,
about like the fact of not seeing a future, because my biggest battle
yeah,
was with depression.
yeah.
And that was a very common feeling for me. It was always just
It's horrible,
getting through the day, trying to
right?
go
You're
to
you're
sleep
not
whenever I could. Like,
you're not even like a person. You feel so
mhm,
just like, just make it 5 more minutes, Megan, and then I'll, okay, it's so sad. It's just, it's not,
mhm,
you're not living. You're not a human. You're in a certain mindset that it's like, it is survival. It can only get you through. I mean, it serves its purpose, but that's not how you should, like, I just feel in life, you should not be surviving. You should be thriving. You shouldn't be just getting by all the time, or else you're not going to live a fun, full life, right? Like, you should be thriving and be so comfortable with yourself and your life and happy and healthy. And that's just, I was like, I never saw that for myself. I never saw my life past, just make it 5 more minutes, Megan. I never saw anything other than like just so right in front of me. I didn't have a big enough vision to see myself at 27. I never would have thought I would have been able to like move to a different state and have this apartment and be making money. Like, I never, ever, ever saw that. So for me, sometimes it's very humbling to be like, oh, wow, I mean, I did, like, thank you, God. I do believe universe. Thank you for getting me here. I'm so grateful. But also, I'm grateful for myself because I put in the work to feel better. No one forced me to go to therapy. I asked my parents to go to therapy because I wanted to feel better. So I put in the work every week for 3 years, and still I put in the work every week. And it's been, I've been in therapy for 11 years and I still put in the work. We're never done learning. It's like we're always going to be the student of life and be growing and evolving and go through divorces and deaths and births and moving and trials and tribulations. But that's where the growth happens in those moments. And so I'm just proud of myself and the people and you for like not giving up on yourself, because mental health is not easy and it's really uncomfortable because it's you battling against yourself. And that's, I feel, what makes it so frustrating and very difficult is you are battling against yourself. It's not like you and a bully where it's another person and you're like, oh, it's easier because it's a different person, right? But it's when it's you against your own self and your thoughts, you're like, uh, so much judgment comes up, and you're like, wait, I'm thinking these thoughts? That's so gross. Why would I think that? Ew. Oh my gosh. Am I a failure? What? Why? But yeah,
yeah, no, that's so true. I feel like so much of the mental health conversation is just about battling those inner thoughts, living in survival mode, like you said.
yeah,
And you also spoke a bit to the stigma that you felt when, sitting in that big assembly, you felt like you were the only one.
yeah,
But obviously, knowing what we do now, you know that you were not the only one. There were probably several other people in that room who were struggling, but who were also feeling similar shame, the stigma of actually coming up and opening up about what they were going through. So you
Completely. Yeah.
mentioned that your family life, you were very supported, but like,
Yeah.
how else did stigma personally affect you? And how do you think it's still relevant today?
Ooh, that is a great question, Angelica. I feel for me, these are true stories also. I have been in my career 8.5 years of motivational speaking, blogging, doing social media, writing books. I've gone to so many events and networking and just meeting people of all walks of life. And I feel very grateful for it. But one thing is, when I have encountered certain people, I have often been the victim of just them judging me and them shaming me. I've had men tell me, "Well, you're so pretty. Why do you have anxiety?" And I'm like, Really? Like, are you serious?" I've had people tell me like, "Oh, but you're wealthy. You make money. You live on your own. What is there to be anxious about?" And I'm like, "Oh, friend, if only you knew what anxiety is. Sometimes it's a chemical imbalance, my dude. Like, it's not." So I've had people, even when I was a teenager, I had guys in my high school that would make fun of me. And sometimes I would have a panic attack in class and I would be, pinching my hands under my desk. It was a way that I could focus on pain, pinching it sounds so weird, but we all have our things just to get through. But I had some guys in my high school that would see it and they'd be like, "Megan, why are you pinching your hands? You look so dumb." And I'm like, and on the inside, I felt like dying and crying. But yeah, I just, throughout my career, I've unfortunately had many experiences where people are like, "You're so pretty. Why do you struggle? You don't need to feel anxious. You have nothing to worry about. Your life is great. You're so pretty. You're white. You are a female. You grew up in a very nice community. You have this, you have that. You're successful. You don't need to be anxious. You don't just, I don't know, you don't deserve to feel that way." And it's so messed up and it is so awful. And to have like a man look at me, a grown man, and say, "Why do you worry? Like, if you're pretty?" I'm like, what? Like, oh gosh. So I feel like honestly, mental health, the one thing that I have learned in my own journey and hearing other people is it does not discriminate. And I don't care how much money you make, what kind of car you drive, who you know, what your ethnicity is. Like, it does not matter. There are wealthy celebrities that are billionaires that have anxiety. We have all seen celebrities that unfortunately either overdose or end their life because of mental health issues. It does not matter how many followers you have. It does not. Mental health is still mental health. And, it's a chemical imbalance. It's hereditary. It's caused by a traumatic event. And I just have a lot of compassion and empathy because of just, I've been bullied before online and in high school. And I've been the victim of just, the receiving end of really harsh criticism. And I have a huge, 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 huge heart for people who struggle because I know exactly what it feels like to be there. And so I just think people need to be kinder and to not judge so quickly. And that is another thing also. I do feel grateful for my mental health journey because it's given me the gift of I don't judge other people really. I don't because I have no idea what they're going through. And I like to lead with kindness because I think that's way more productive. Being angry and judging and being jealous and being like spiteful, that doesn't really like do anything. It's not productive. Our ego thinks it's productive to be like jealous, whatever, but it's not. It's actually more productive and beneficial for our well-being to be kind and loving and mature. Like, so I just practice kindness. I walk the walk and I think it's just way healthier. But yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think one of the biggest things, again, with mental health is that it's not tangible. You can't see it. And like you
No,
said, you never know what's going on behind closed doors.
no.
And that's why so many people will just look at you in the standing that you have and be like,
Yeah.
"What's wrong with you? What do you have to feel anxious about?" It's like, well, there are
I
other
can't.
factors.
I can't, when I like laugh at it now, thankfully, also, I mean, I am one grateful gal, okay? But another thing I'm grateful for is the fact that all my success happened in my later 20s, so I'm more mentally mature to handle it and to, emotionally be like, okay, I can handle people DMing me saying, you look like an albino snake. And I'm like, an albino snake? Like, what does that mean? So, but I feel grateful though, because if I were 12 years, I wouldn't, that would have affected me so much more. I feel like a big thing that I love about getting older is you don't care as much what other people think about you. And it's the best thing ever. But back to what you said, I do think, yeah, I feel like honestly, just like the mental health thing, it's like, people, yeah, can be so quick to judge and they're like, you have it so nice and all these things. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just like, I just don't think that way. So I feel like it's hard for me to understand people that are so quick to judge and emotionally react. And they're like, your life is so great. How do you worry? And I'm like, uh-huh. But yeah, I think if you've been there, then you have a lot more compassion and empathy. I'll say that.
Yeah, and people on the internet are mean. They
Oh.
have nothing better to do than to just comment the
they're
most
so they're
rude
so
things.
savage. They're ruthless. They will come for you. I have hilarious stories, and thankfully I can genuinely laugh at it. It goes in one ear out the other. Seriously. Like I've learned to not, I mean, thankfully my mom specifically, she is a champion. She's such a strong woman. She's like, Megan, I don't care what she's like, they don't know you. Who cares what they think? Like, she's like, do not listen to them. They're haters. They're jealous. You're doing something that they want to do, whatever. Do not listen to them. Do not give them your time of day. So she's always been a champion for like, you go after what you want. You can do it. Mind it. Like, you got this, Megan. You're such a badass. And I'm like, thanks, mom. But, no, I've had crazy messages. I laugh at it. I could just cry of laughter for hours. I've had people DM me saying stuff like, uh, like yeah, you look like an albino snake. I've had people tell me, you look like a man. And I'm like, okay. I've had people say, you know, like creepy stuff too. I'll send you money if you send me photos of your toes. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I've just had like a wide range of stuff. Like, odd favors of like, I'll transfer you money on like some sketchy website if you send me photos of your toes. I've also had people say like, yeah, terrible things like, you're so ugly, go rot in a ditch and you should die, and crazy, crazy stuff. But I realized, I really, people that do that, I mean, once again, you look at their profile, and I'm not trying to shame or judge, but this is just the truth. A bully, if you think about it, if it's online or in person, someone that bullies people it's really just someone who can't really handle their emotions. And so they need something to like just take out their frustration on. And they're typically insecure and they're going through a lot, and they just find someone and they are like, your forehead is so like I've heard that since I was like 12. I've heard the whole forehead thing. It doesn't bother me because once again, with age comes a lot of maturity, and I love myself a lot more now than when I did at 12. So I feel like I just realized it says a lot more about the other person because, I would never go around saying that to anyone. I would never do that because I feel like happy people don't do that. Hurt people hurt other people. And so you have to realize that it can be like hard to really process in the moment. But if someone is bullying you, it doesn't matter what they're bullying you about. It's just they're an insecure person who could be a little jealous of you, or they just want to be you, or maybe it's not even they don't even know you, and they're just going through a lot at home, and they're like, I'm going to DM this girl who's positive on Instagram, this girl named Megan, and I'm just going to say like, F you. Like, I don't know. So I never take it personally though, because I always say, if you haven't hung out with me for 24 hours, if you haven't met me in real life, if you don't know my full backstory, if you don't really know my family and like where I'm from, then, shame on you for judging me. Because if you knew my whole story and if you hung out with me for a day, I bet that you wouldn't really say those things. And I think it's easy online because it's such a barrier. It's just a screen. It's easy to leave a comment. And also, you're not saying it to their face, but the thing is, if you hung out with the person that you want to send a message to, like I say this before you send anything, pause. Don't do it emotionally just because you're sitting in traffic or you're having a hard day or you're mad at yourself and you're going through a lot. Don't take out your anger on other people. That's not fair. Grab a journal, go to therapy, go exercise. Think about it because words are powerful. So, it's like think about what you're going to say for an hour, 30 minutes. And if you still really want to say it and you really think it's going to help you feel better, it's like you have to just be mature enough to really like pause and really think like, yeah, but is it about this person or is it more about me and I'm just going through a lot and I feel like it's healthy to label your emotions. Like when I've gone through stuff in life where I feel very frustrated and very angry. Like a guy didn't text me back. That makes me feel frustrated. And then, okay, so I'm going to say out loud or write it down. I feel frustrated. Just labeling it feels good. I feel very angry. I feel very insecure. I feel very down on myself. I feel angry. I'm really pissed. Okay, awesome. So knowing that, what are you going to do about it? Okay, so that's great. I mean, sad, like, I don't want to feel that way, but it's like, okay, you feel that way. So then what is a productive thing to do? Because emotions come and go. That is another thing I've really realized. Emotions come and go. They are not forever. So when we allow, and we know that, have the awareness that whatever you're feeling right now, it will not last forever because emotions come and go. That's a scientific fact. They come and they go, and then all of a sudden you're feeling happy again because you're eating your favorite meal or, time goes by. So knowing emotions do not last forever, whatever it is, anger, jealousy, happiness, hatred, sadness, joy, euphoria, the good stuff, the bad, whatever it is, it doesn't last forever. It's important to just be mindful, because I think a lot of people, and I'm not trying to sound, douchey, but a lot of people lack emotional awareness and emotional intelligence. So I think that those things are an art form where over time, with age and maturity and life experiences, and things like therapy, where you can really learn about yourself. And I know me like the back of my hand. It's like, just, yeah, like a lot of people react so emotionally in the moment. They don't really think before they do things, and they're very like, F you, and like just, they don't think about the repercussions. How am I making this person feel? What's going to happen in 2 hours? Am I going to feel this angry in 5 hours? Or maybe I should cool my jets a little bit and then like go walk around, go shopping, go do something. And then if I still feel the same way, like I need to express myself to someone, I think, yeah, it's just a really cool art form and a really cool mindful tip where you can really practice being very emotionally intelligent.
I absolutely agree. Emotions are at the
Yeah,
core of everything, and
they
learning to
are.
actually understand like what they mean for you, what certain
Yes.
situations make you feel like, what
Yeah,
responses they bring out of you. It can really teach you so much about yourself and other people and just like
completely.
how you carry yourself in the world. It can be life-changing.
Yes, it is. And I think also, for me personally, like certain people in our life can have a lot of emotional power over us, right? Like, let's be real. We all have people, whether it's a sibling, cousin, a boyfriend, whatever, a roommate, a neighbor that may have a lot of like if you think about them, you're like, oh, like you have some sort of emotional response, right? You're either like, ah, or like whatever it is. So we have to realize in life, we can give our power away so quickly. And that could be, typically I think giving our power away is like a negative thing. Like if, let's say, for example, in my apartment complex, I have a neighbor that, always just bothers me and does things. And I'm like, I give away so much, of my attention and energy because I'm like, why does he do that? I hate how he plays his music. I hate this. It's like, do I realize, first of all, how much energy and like focus and just of me that I'm putting towards him because yes, it's frustrating what he's doing, but more importantly, is it really productive for me, Megan, to be giving all of my energy and my like what I have for the day, my energy bandwidth for the day of what I have to get done and like, feeling good? Is that really productive? No, because it's like, number one, that man is out of my control. Number two, what he does is out of my control. And number three, if I focus on solutions only, then I can go talk to, my manager, my apartment landlord, like whomever, and say, hey, he's playing music, or go knock on his door and have a conversation. But other than that, it's not really worth giving all of that attention and energy. So I think it's another cool thing in life when you really, really realize, you know, not everything is worth giving such an emotional response to. And that for me was really hard to learn because I often associated, emotions with uh, kind of being motivated, like, oh, I have to win, I'm always right, like such an ego thing. I was like, no, if I don't respond to this uh neighbor or this person in my life and I don't stick up and fight back, then I'm losing. But that's not true. And that took me a while for me to learn, honestly. It's just not true because some battles are not even worth engaging in. And that actually makes you smarter. And it's like the whole, not working harder, working smarter thing. Not every person, comment, conversation, message on Facebook, whatever, is worth even engaging in because, we as humans have an ego, and that ego wants us to win and to be right and to fight back and to be like, I'm in charge and I will annihilate you and, like dominate this conversation. But that's just not always worth it because once again, how much of our energy and our time are we giving to that person? Is that even worth it? No, it's not. And that's a beautiful thing when you realize in life it's not always worth it because what's happening is you're getting your engines riled up and you're giving all of this of you to this person who probably is just wanting to push your buttons and it's not even worth it. So for me, it just I will say learning that though, that it's not worth it because it's really not sometimes, was such a great moment in my life.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the control piece we were talking about earlier, just
It's
reminding yourself
huge.
that you can only focus on what you can control. You don't have
Yes.
control over how loud your neighbor plays his music. You don't
No.
have control over what trolls are saying to you on the internet, but it is
No.
your unfortunate responsibility to respond to those situations. So you
I
have to
know.
take a second to really acknowledge, like, how is this making me feel? Is it worth the time? Is it worth the energy? Is what this
Yeah.
person's saying to me online like really going to affect me, or am I just going to let it go in one ear and out the other? Like
And
there's
here's
so
the
much of that
I know.
reflection that you need to do.
I know. And here's the crazy thing too, Angelica. It's like I realized, like for example, I do actually, that was a real example. I do have a neighbor that plays music really loud, but I feel like the moment though that I stopped focusing on him and started focusing on me bettering my life and, focusing on doing what I can do, I actually noticed that my frustration levels and anger levels dropped. And that is huge because that is me shifting my awareness back to what's in my circle of control. And that is for anything in life, you guys. Like any situation when you feel very just like, oh gosh, stop focusing on what is out of your control. Other people, what they say, their reactions, what they do, what they wear, what they eat, that's not in your circle. Okay, bring it back, like shrink it down. What is in your circle of control? It's you, how you respond, what you think about, how you react, how successful you are in your life. That's something else that my parents drilled into my mind. They're like, Megan, how you do in your life is up to you. It's up to no one else. You cannot blame other people. You cannot point fingers and say, mom and dad, but you should have loved me more. No, your success is fully up to you. Don't blame other people. Just if you want it bad enough, go after it. So I feel like when you shrink it back down, it like all of these mental tools that I'm sharing also, I may sound like a drill sergeant, but I'm just so passionate about it because it has changed my life. Like I every day feel like I am living the best day of my entire life because of these tools and all of these gifts that I have given myself, because I have not given up on myself and living the most potential optimal, life that I can. And this is a possibility for everyone, for us all. We can live our best lives ever if we just choose to take more time to practice these mindful hacks. We can literally feel amazing wherever we want. We could feel wonderful sitting in traffic. Why? Because we're focusing on playing our favorite song, turning on the air conditioning so the car is just that perfect temperature, rolling down the windows, like looking at the sun go down, because you're not focusing on the traffic. You're bringing your attention back to things that feel good energetically. So you're raising your vibration, because you're focusing on things that bring you joy, which is going to remove the pit in your stomach, and you're going to feel expanded up in your chest. So I do believe in, mental health, but I also am a fan of, energetic spirituality things and vibrations and frequencies and manifesting. And I think the two go hand in hand, because if I focus on things that are going right in my life, and if I focus on what's working out and things that bring me joy, and I don't shame myself either. Things that bring me joy are spray tans, blowouts, getting my nails done, feeling really good, having a clean apartment, doing my dishes, dancing around to music at nighttime, playing Frank Sinatra, like fun, whatever. If I focus on all of that, wouldn't I feel amazing? That's the truth. We all have that ability. Wherever you are, that magic is with every single human on this entire planet. We all have that. So tap into it, because don't we all deserve to feel amazing,
I hope everybody's taking notes right now, like taking this with you in your own life and just applying all these things.
It's the most magical gift ever. And we all can manifest our biggest dreams by focusing on it's already here. So your dream partner, your dream income financially, your dream car, your dream friend group, feel like focus on that feeling, but then bring it to the now. They're already here. How would you feel? What would you do? What for me, I'm single, and I am very open to love, and I want to manifest my soulmate. I believe in soulmates, and I really want to get married. And so for me, it's I want to bring that man to the now. So I'm like, okay, how would I feel if he was here? Oh gosh, well, I would feel so relieved. That's the first thing I would feel, really. I always close my eyes and I feel into it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I would feel like, oh, honey, I found him. He's here. I would just feel so much relief. I would feel like I'm just home. He would bring that energy to me where I feel like I'm home and I can hug him and I feel so grounded and safe, and he brings so much safety and stability to me. And so, but this is beautiful though. So, my mind starts going and I'm like, oh, if this man were here, oh God, and then I start imagining other things, what we'd make for dinner and where we would go, and, how little things that we would do, and what would he just, that's the best thing ever, because you're getting your mind going. And scientifically also, I have heard in other interviews, so this is not something that I made up, but I have heard scientifically other motivational speakers say this, so don't quote me, but I've heard them say that our brain does not know the difference between something that is really happening versus something that we are imagining. So that's why manifestation works, is because if I'm focusing on this, dream guy, oh, he's so tall and, brown hair, and he makes me feel this way, and we dance in our, my mind is already imagining a man and me doing that. And so that to me is already happening. And that's why manifestation works, is because it's already here. We're focusing on it's here. There is no lack. He's going to be here in how long? That's focusing on the lack. He's already here though. So bring it to he's here. And then to me, that's the key to manifestation, is your dream car, your dream, whatever, it's already here. So what would you feel? What emotions? Relief, euphoria, joy, peace, abundance? Because if you're making $500,000 a year, you're going to feel really, really good. So, and also, write down, in my journal, I'm like, oh, I would be able to buy this and go on this vacation, and I would probably cry and stare out the window of the plane and be like, oh my gosh, I would kiss the ground and be so grateful. Like, whatever it is, just tap into that. It's really powerful.
I love that. And I always love hearing like the science behind actual manifestation and spiritual practices because so
Yes,
many
there
people
is a
are skeptical
science.
about it.
Yes, I honestly, for me, there is a science, and I think, Google it, do your own research, but everyone has their own ways to how they manifest. I have my own things, but, uh, I feel like focus, kind of a general rule of thumb, I would say for anyone listening, you may be new to manifestation, or you're like, how do I even start? A basic, just overall principle, I think, is focus on things that make you feel expanded. Like if your thoughts give you like a contraction and you're like always worried and nervous and like puckered, to me, you want to get rid of those thoughts and you want to think thoughts that feel like, up here, like they're light and they're playful and they make you feel joyful. And they're like happy thoughts. And you're like, oh my gosh, I love oat milk lattes from Starbucks. I love this and I love that, because you're lifting your vibration by focusing on things that literally bring you joy, right? Listening to your favorite song and all that stuff. To me, the more that you do that, you're not only training your mind to look for things that bring you that same joy feeling, but you're also going to do more things that bring you joy, right? And then your whole reality will start to change because you're on this frequency of joy and abundance. So I feel like I'm like a teacher. I'm like, okay, guys, so we're gonna exit down the wing of the plane. So you know what I mean? Though it's like you're on this frequency, so you're going to start, meeting people who are also at this frequency, and that's why your life will change, because you're going to start attracting people that are also filled with joy, and situations and jobs and opportunities that are going to bring you joy and on this vibration. So I always say, your thoughts, it's like a 2-for-1 deal. Okay. Imagine you're at the grocery store and it's a shampoo conditioner sale, like they always come in a package, right? Shampoo, conditioner. Um, Thoughts are the shampoo, feelings are the conditioner. Sorry. Thoughts are the shampoo, feelings are the conditioner. They come together. It's a 2-for-1 deal. Our thoughts create feelings. We first shampoo, that's our thoughts, we shampoo, and then we condition. Those are feelings. They create feelings. So if you're ever like, why do I feel this shitty? Like throughout the day, you're like, ew, wait, you check in with yourself and you're like, I feel so gross. What the hell? Like, what the heck? Uh, it's because check in with your thoughts. They go hand in hand. So if you're thinking badly, how are you going to feel? Vice versa. Go back and forth, play into it. So we're always can be like, oh, what? My thoughts got weird because I'm starting to feel that pit in my stomach that like, oh God, and then I'm going to see this uncle at Christmas that I hate. And then, oh God, don't do that because you're focusing on things. No, no, no. Just pause, flip it around. We always have that choice to flip it back to saying, up in the place.
No, I love that analogy. And I think like it's just the matter of finding one single positive thing in every situation. Like, sure,
Yes.
you might be
Yes.
really anxious about seeing your uncle at Christmas, but
We,
think positively. You're going to spend time with family. Maybe you're getting gifts. Maybe you're eating good food. Like, find that thing and focus all your energy on it because that will just lift up everything else. Like you said, it's the law of
yeah,
attraction. It's real. It's there. You just really have to tap into it.
it is true. And that's a great tip. It's like, even when you are in situations where, okay, maybe you don't want to be there. Still focus on the good stuff. Yeah, the good food. It's a sunny day outside. Like there's always, things that you can kind of refocus back on that will help and make it better.
Absolutely. Well, my last question for you today
Yeah.
is just like bringing everything together. What has this whole journey taught you the most about both yourself and society as a whole? It's a big one.
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say this whole journey has taught me that everyone has a story, and everyone, you know, yeah, I would say that everyone has a story, and to not judge people and to know that everyone has a story of why they are the way that they are and why they do what they do and how they act the way that they act. Everyone is shaped into who they are, and that's a beautiful thing. And I would also say, what it has taught about me is just that I've always felt my entire life that I was put on this earth for a big purpose. And I feel like my own journey and my work that I've done the past 8.5 years has really kind of like, given so much evidence to back up that, yes, I am here for a big reason. And I've always felt, called just to help other people, even at a young age. So I think that I'm just so grateful and happy, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So.
So wholesome. I love it. Well, Megan, this has been absolutely incredible. I feel very energized from everything that you shared. You're a great motivational speaker.
Thank
But no, for
you.
real, just really glad that we got the chance to connect. And I know a lot of what you shared is going to resonate with people here in my community.
Yeah,
So hopefully they can apply some of these things, perspectives, whatever it is, to their own life to better their own mental health journey, life situation.
yes.
And yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. You are amazing and happy early
Thank
birthday.
you. Thank you, Scorpio season. Thank you, Angelica. I've loved being on here, and everyone listening. I hope you took away, nuggets of wisdom. And just know that you are not alone. Anything you're going through, it is so figure outable, and you deserve to live an amazing life.